Okay, when looking back on my past reviews, I found it very hard to believe that I have not, to this date, done a review on a Russian Imperial Stout. This is a style that is definitely one of my favorites that I thought I had done not one or two, but several reviews of, but this is going to be the first, and it's a rather peculiar one in that this is from the Samuel Smith Brewery, which is a brewery in England, and it's also one of the least, if not the least, alcoholic Russian Imperial Stouts, coming in at only 7% alcohol by volume. Usually a Russian Imperial Stout will range on the very, very, very low end at 8%, and on the higher ends at 12%, and they can even go further than that. But this one, definitely lower than the low end of the spectrum, coming in at 7%. Talk about the brewery for a little bit. The brewery is in a town called Tadcaster, which is in North Yorkshire, England. It's actually the oldest brewery in Yorkshire. I believe it started back in 1758. Now, to give you kind of an idea of how long ago that was, which you don't need me to tell you how long ago 1758 was, the oldest brewery in the U.S. is Yuengling, and I believe that started in 1829. So, as you can tell, and as you know, England, a little bit of an older country than the United States of America. Therefore, the older breweries are going to far, far be older than the oldest in the United States. This one is a Russian Imperial Stout. To give you a little background about what Russian Imperial Stouts are, they are the kings of all stouts, usually the highest alcohol by volume. I gave you the ABV range. Whereas the India Pale Ale was started in England to survive the voyage from England to India in British-occupied India. And this one kind of has a voyage kind of story to it, needed to survive voyages, but it was brewed mostly to please and impress the Russian Tsar back in the 1800s. So these are Russian Imperial Stouts, hence the Russian name, hence the Imperial name, and of course, just by the style of it, it's definitely a stout. This one made with water, malted barley, roasted malt, and yes, seaweed finings. I found that kind of interesting. And another kind of quick fact about Tadcaster, the brewery, Samuel Smith, they actually hire a guy named called a cooper, whose job it is to make and repair the barrels that the beer is brewed in. So it's kind of a unique kind of thing. Find me another brewery that has a guy that does that employs a guy that makes barrels and fixes them as well. Well, let's open this one up. This in a bottle that's 1 pint, 2.7 fluid ounces. That's a very unique volume of beer right there. 1 pint, 2.7 fluid ounces. So that's a total of 18.7 fluid ounces. Always love the beer that has that gold wrappage around it, as you can see from the bottle cap. And here is a look at the logo of Samuel Smith. All their beers basically have a variation of this logo, very fancy kind of British writing. It just basically bleeds British. You can pour this into a number of vessels. Any kind of pint glass would do. A lot of beers, you can just be fine with a pint glass. I want to get a little more fancy, so I am serving this in an oversized wine glass instead. So you'll be able to kind of see the hue of the Russian Imperial Stout. And we're seeing it pour out in a very not motor oil sense, which some Russian Imperial Stouts can kind of take on the appearance of, but it's very dark, very chocolatey looking, as you can see in the bottom of here. It's very, very, very malty, roasted looking, with a very brown caramelized head on this beer. The head on it, not really dissipating with that much alacrity. Nice fine kind of layer of bubbles on the top of it, and just looks like it's just an all-around well-produced, well-brewed, full Russian Imperial Stout. Let's grab the aroma right now. Oh, man, I'm getting a chocolate sensation right now while I'm smelling it. Of course, definitely a lot of malts, a lot of chocolatey kind of sensations kind of just wafting up here. Almost reminds me of a chocolate stout in a way as far as the aroma goes. You just know that you're going to get a very, very full, high-calorie a Russian Imperial Stout here. It looks like more was crafted as far as ingredients go than it was with the fermentation and the length of time, hence the 7% alcohol by volume. You can see the lacing here on the side, very heavy lacing, kind of just clinging to the side of this glass. Usually means a high ABV, but as I mentioned before, ABV 7%. So there are other factors that are causing this lacing rather than the alcohol. Wow. Very tasty. My gosh, is this a tasty beer. This is almost a dessert beer. It's chocolatey. You can taste the chocolate. You can taste kind of like the burnt malt a little bit roasted. Just an unbelievable dessert beer. This is a kind of a warm, kind of winterish sit by the fire beer as well. It's just a wonderful, wonderful representation of the style. And it's a little bit surprising because I really thought that 7% would have made this a little too weak, but it's very, very strong and on point, definitely. It's dessert in a bottle, basically, and it's not the kind of dessert that gets a little too rich and gets a little too much after a while. It's definitely just the right volume. It'll sit heavy, however, you just kind of want to drink it alone. You probably shouldn't pair this with too much as far as food goes. Maybe a dessert, maybe some chocolate, something like that, but definitely not during dinner. I would not make this a dinner beer at all. That said, man, Samuel Smith's Russian Imperial Stout, I will give this one a 9 out of 10.